First of all, I need my people who don't understand the connection between us and our Cameroonian brothers and sisters. That connection is very strong. And if you ever hear someone say, "Oh, those Africans don't like us," it's lies. It's all lies. Um, I met Boris. I'm always have to tell this story. So I got my ancestry traced through African ancestry back in 2014. And maternally, it traced to the Bamileke people in Cameroon. And paternally, it traced to people in Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, and Britain. I on African Ancestry's website, they have a blog. And so I went on the blog and said, just discover my ancestry traces to the Bamileke. I would learn about the culture, the people, the language. And Boris reached out to me, Boris Guifo, who's on the call now. And we started to email one another. And then I got his WhatsApp number. So I kind of got linked into WhatsApp. And we started talking over the phone. And I was planning my wedding. And Tanya, my wife Tanya, and I got married in 2019. And to show you how strong the love is, Boris flew in from Switzerland. His father, who I met through him, flew in from Cameroon. And Boris's brother, God rest his soul, Philip, flew in with he and his family from Philadelphia. And then I also had a relative who was in down south who I'd never heard of, who came to our wedding here in St. Louis. And they all did that to support us. And Chief bought garments for myself. Chief Wabo bought garments for myself and for my wife and for our mother, my mother and Tanya's mother. And we just spent some time together here in St. Louis. One of my favorite moments was we went to the St. Louis Art Museum where we have a large African art exhibit, and they have lots of Bamileke art on display. And so I was able to show Chief Wabo and Boris that exhibit, and Chief Wabo was teaching Boris and I about some of the artifacts, and that was just a beautiful moment. I don't know if Boris can speak to that or not if he remembers that moment. Um, but regretfully, we weren't able to travel when Boris just got married. So congratulations, Boris. But we definitely we send our love from here. My trip to Cameroon was wonderful. We stayed in Yaoundé. Chief Wabo and Boris hosted us, and when we touched down, if ever you travel to Cameroon, get your malaria shot, get yellow fever, get typhoid. Those are the three main ones that you would need. We flew in from St. Louis. We went to Newark, New Jersey. Then from there to Brussels, and then from Brussels into Cameroon, and that's when we got picked up by Chief Wabo. Yaoundé is the capital city in Cameroon, and there isn't at the time there wasn't running water, and so that we used a bucket to use the restroom. The roads were not roads that we were used to, and so the infrastructure needs a lot of they need help. And one of the things that I asked Boris about was how can we as members of the African diaspora help our brothers and sisters with the infrastructure? And he told me that really boils down to the government and them using funds wisely. So when you go to Cameroon, just be prepared for a culture shock, that there are some things that you're going to experience that might be different than what you're used to. Um, but the people are so loving and friendly, despite what they're going through. They will love on you and will feed you and give you anything that you need to have a great time. And we had an exceptional time. My wife went to the market, and we went to a few weddings while we were there, and the food was absolutely ridiculously good. Um, and let's see, what else can I tell you? There are a lot of people selling wares on the street. They'll sell shoes, clothing. They'll sell any and everything to get by. So I strongly encourage you to support the economy there, to support our brothers and sisters who are on selling their wares and things that they've created. Um, they have the same things we have here in the States. They just have different versions of those things. So just be prepared for things just to be different. Not so much worse or better, just different. Um, let's see, what else can I tell you? People, because of colonization in Cameroon, people do speak English. But French is also spoken there too. The national languages in Cameroon are English and French. Um, and so I don't know any French. I'm in the process of trying to learn. But I was able to get by because I had an exceptional guide in Chief Wabo and Boris Guifo. Um, but I was able to get by with my English. Um, I was able to do research and present my research at a panel as part of a panel at the University of Yaoundé One. And so I made a connection there with Dr. Anita Gia, who was a phenomenal woman. So another thing I would say is make connections before you go to Cameroon and make connections while you're there and maintain those relationships. Don't make it a one-off type of a situation, but be intentional about rebuilding what's been taken from us, which were the relationships. One of my most profound moments in Cameroon was traveling to Bamaleke area. We went to the mountains. We traveled to the mountains, and I was able to see where my people are from, where I am from, and live like the people do. One of the things that Chief Wabo was able to do for me, he gave me the name Kwam while I was in Cameroon, and which is his father's name. And the people, the villagers there, they hadn't met me before, but when they heard that one of their own had returned, they threw a festival for me. And when I say they threw a festival, they used all the food from their gardens. They dressed up, they showed up and showed out. They danced for me. The men played instruments. It was almost like a homecoming where everybody sort of just stopped what they were doing and celebrated me. And that was the most tear-jerking thing that I can ever experience. It was so profound. Um, and I'm in a process now of raising funds to give to the local school in the village, just to continue, just to keep that relationship strong between myself as an educator and wanted to do something for my home country, my ancestral home in Cameroon. And but while I was there, also we visited many different villages and kingdoms. One of which was Banjul. We went to Bapa. We went to Bafusam. And in Bapa, near Bapa, we were able to. There was a slave, and there was like uh, a market, a slave market in the village that people, even during the era of slavery, they knew about it, but it was hidden from. It was right behind a regular market, and they have an exhibit up that shows sort of the story of that area. But I brought home some soil from that area because the guide told us that many of the enslaved African Cameroonians, the Bamaleke taken from that area, was shipped to the Americas because the climate in the countryside was similar to the climate to where they were going. Um, and so you talk about somebody who was in tears and somebody who that was holy ground for me because I was able to feel the soil where my ancestor, their feet were in that soil before they were shipped to the Americas, specifically to North Carolina, where my family was enslaved, and then Mariana, Arkansas. And then during the Great Migration, we came from there to St. Louis and to other parts of in the North, like Chicago, New York, etc. Um, but I'm open for questions. I just want to just sort of introduce Cameroon to you as a beautiful place where the people are so loving, even though they're dealing with a lot. I mean, as African Americans, and I'm sure our counterparts in other parts of the world, like my brother Malcolm in Canada and others, we have hardship anywhere we go. But the hardship that our people are dealing with in Cameroon is on a different level, to the point where, as hard as my life is in America, I don't have to worry about the lights just cutting off. I don't have to worry about water, running water. There are certain things I just don't have to worry about. I don't have to think about how the roads are going to be if I need to travel from point A to point B, right? But in Cameroon, particularly in Yaoundé, these are everyday struggles where people will you can be in the middle of having people over at your house, and we visited this one brother who was in like a mansion, and we were just sitting around having dinner, and the lights just went off, and people are just used to that, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I pay a bill every month to Ameren, and I bet my lights better be on, you know, because I pay this bill. But people who pay their bills in Cameroon don't have that luxury. I can turn on a faucet right now, and I have adequate water to drink. But in Cameroon right now, they may not have that, you know. And so I just want you to know that our brothers and sisters in Cameroon, though they struggle with infrastructure, they excel at love for their kin across the terrain in which we have to live. And so again, I want to open up anything for questions. Um I just want to just start a conversation. Boris, how you doing, brother? Olila, I'm Gaka.
Olila, brother, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate your testimony. And I thank you for bringing up all those nice memories.
Oh,
I'll maybe
we got to
quickly
talk about
introduce.
we got to talk about Ape Action Africa though. We have to.
Oh, yeah, that was a good.
So Boris and I had a bonding experience. So one of the first things we did, we went to Ape Action Africa. And if you don't know, that's a place where you can symbolically adopt a chimpanzee or a gorilla. And so we just thought we can just get in the car and we'll go. Well, what we didn't do, we did not call ahead of time to let them know we were coming because they would have told us what road to take. Beloved, we were in the back roads in the villages in Cameroon. Now, if the roads in the city are bad, the roads in the back country are even worse. We had to stop at least 10 times to push the car out of ditches. We had people who were on the side of the road with machetes, like kind of just combing through the bush, who helped us get our car out of ditches. It rained a little bit. It was the most we bonded during that time going to Ape Action Africa. It took us about an hour and a half, no, almost 2 hours to take what would have normally been a 30-minute drive. And we get there and they were closing. I think they closed at 5. We must have got there like 4:20. And but they let us in and we were able to see some animals and interact with the people. And the cool thing is that the people from Cameroon who actually work on the site, they live on site. They have a part of the village. The facility is situated in a village that employs people, and they actually live on the grounds. So if you ever get to Yaoundé, you want to go to Ape Action Africa, call ahead so you can know what road to take because you don't want to be like us and just say, "Hey, we'll just drive and go," because you may have an adventure on your hands. But I do want to open up for some questions. Oh, I miss that, boys. These pictures, my God. Oh, I miss home so much.
You,
One of the cool things too. So I live in Webster Groves in St. Louis, Missouri, and we were in Cameroon, and the national ambassador to Cameroon is from Webster Groves. This white man from Webster Groves. And so we get to I'm a big tennis fan. And so we went to Yannick's tennis academy in Yaoundé.
Oh, Yannick Noir Academy.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And the ambassador to Cameroon was playing tennis that day. And it was just the coolest thing that this guy was from my neighborhood and he's
Wow.
the ambassador
Wow.
to Cameroon.
So you guys managed to exchange and had a good chat.
We did.
Mhm.
So if you notice in some of these pictures, thank you, boys. Gapingo for those pictures.
Gapping up,
So
bro.
what I'm speaking is Ingomala, which is one of the languages spoken by the people in Cameroon. And to say hello, you would say Olila, Olila. Um, so anyway, there's so much to say. But here, in these images, let me see if I can scroll up to some of them. Some etiquette. If you ever find yourself in Cameroon, if you see the picture with myself and Chief Wabo in the red there, there's the chief there in the rear. Um, if you're walking with royalty, you let them lead. You don't want to walk ahead of them. And if you're taking a picture, you have to sort of be lower than them. And so they'll often be seated, and you'll have to be, seated below them, or you'll be situated as we are here. But that's just the way that people show respect to royalty there, among
Yeah.
other ways.
And I also want to add that we could see different generations of royals, because we saw a very modern king that was very open. He treated his employees really well, and he really treated us as royals. That was a very deep experience, even for my father, who lived in Cameroon. He was very blown away because the chief of Bapa was very forthcoming, a lot of great ideas. And I was wondering, those guys, they are there in the village, and to me, they seem to be more eloquent and have more passion to their people than any politician in the whole country.
Yeah. The fawn in Bapa was so welcoming. So my partner Tanya and I don't eat meat, and so he fed us while we were there, but he made sure that we had food that we can eat. He didn't have to do that, but he did that. He made sure that we had food. I'm almost about to cry because he took that level of care to make sure we were taken care of. I miss Cameroon so much, and I miss the smells. I miss the people. I miss the fish. Um, I miss it. I really look forward to coming back home. And when you do go home, we have a brother, and his name is Andre. Well, his German name is Andre. Malcolm, what's his Cameroonian name? Or his
Conchu, Feze Conchu.
country? Yeah, so he has a hostel. He has a hotel there that is exceptional, and he takes really good care of you. And so if you go, you'll have lodging. Um, I mean, he was so welcoming. He would drive you around. He took us around to different places like Bestos, which is where the rich people live. He took us to the market. His place is out, laid out. I was able to get interviewed by a local media outlet there, and was on funny story. So I was interviewed on the local outlet there about my book Shrimp and about my story with my ancestry. And so this past March, I was in Cape Town for a research project, and I went into this African store, and I'm walking around, and there's a brother who looks like a Cameroonian. I can tell in his face that he was Cameroonian. And he saw me, and we introduced. He said, "Are you Bamaleke?" I said, "No." I asked him if he was Bamaleke. He said, "Yes," that he was, and he recognized my face
Wow.
from the media outlet in Cameroon. And so we had an instant affinity. I'm in a whole nother part of the continent of Africa. And so, Malcolm, your broadcast, brother, is reaching all over Africa to the point where people recognize little old me in Cape
Wow.
Town and said, "Oh man." So we had I have to pull up a picture if I can see if I can send it to over the group, but it was so phenomenal. It was so phenomenal that he was able to remember who I was because of Malcolm's broadcast.
Oh, thank you. That's what we're doing. That's what we want to connect. That's what we're doing. Um,
So, any questions from me, family?
but I'm quite glad that you are able to recognize a Bamileke person as well, because you can go somewhere, you can look at somebody and say, "Oh, are you Bamileke?"
Yeah.
That's something good.
Uh-oh, can someone mute their phone, please? I think it's Victoria. Sister, can you mute your phone? Thank you, love. So one of the things I was able to do, Malcolm, since I'm able to recognize Bamileke art, and so I was in the store and I recognized the Bamileke stools, and so I was looking at that. I was looking at other artifacts like the Indop. I saw some Indop. I saw some other things that were Camerooni, that were Bamileke specifically. And so the brother, when he came over to me, I said, I recognize this, and that's how the conversation between us started. It was over over Bamileke art, and then we learned that he was actually from Bafoussam, and then we got to talking about Moncombe and talking about and Boris. I believe he's familiar with you as well. And so just know, y'all, that you can find yourself randomly in Africa and run into a Bamileke person.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we Bamileke, we everywhere. You're gonna find, doesn't matter where you go, you're gonna find a Bamileke person there. We everywhere. So let's go back again. I mean, you said that what was your first impression when you actually landed in Cameroon? Because I know that you was actually looking forward to travel there a long time ago. You kind of like
Yes.
through the chat, through our conversation all the time, you kind of like knew the country. And then like Brother Fraser was saying on the video, when you came there, it was like you guys know each other for a long time because obviously you was connected to the chat. So what was your first impression when you landed? Was it in Yaoundé or Douala?
It was in actually it was in Douala, and then
Yeah.
we had to fly over into Yaoundé. But it was nighttime when we arrived.
Yeah.
But when I got there, I had a really good cry, like inwardly. Like I'm on the plane and we were about to land, and just I had to put my face in my clothes.
Yeah.
I had a really good hard cry. And my wife would just pat me on the back, and I didn't know what I was about to experience. I didn't know if the people were gonna accept me. I didn't know what was gonna happen. But all I knew was that I had came home. The weight of my ancestors sort of lifted to where when I got there, I felt like I was doing the right thing by going, and I felt just a sense of peace. I mean, I was a little jet lagged too, to be real. I was tired, but outside of that tiredness, I felt an extreme sense of relief and comfort, knowing that I was back in Cameroon. I couldn't wait to see things like when the sun came up. I couldn't wait to hear the sounds, to see the sun, to see just any and everything. I just wanted to just take it all in. But my initial reaction was one of extreme happiness.
That's amazing. And you also got a Bamileke name. I see that your name is Kwam. So
Yes.
what's the meaning of your name?
So it is assistant to the notable. And so that is Chief Wabo's father's name, and he gave me his father's name.
Okay.
I think initially I was going to get a name from one of the elders in the village, but I think Chief Wabo pulled his own rank and wanted to honor me with his father's name. So I really appreciate that. And so I look forward to assisting the notable in any way that I can. You know, I'm just happy to be Bamileke. I don't have to have any rank. I'm just happy to be one of the people.
It's good. I don't know if anyone else got a question. Dr. Elong is there to answer the question.
There is no silly question.
Yeah.
If you see the image with the sculpture, I think the most recent one, not the one of us and the chief in Bapa. That's us in Bapa.
Yeah.
That's the chief that the fawn rather that Boris was just speaking about. But the picture right before that,
Yeah.
that's in the slave market.
Okay.
I believe. Hold on, let me see. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, it's from the slave
Yes,
market.
it is. Yes, it
The
is.
picture itself is not as recent because it's not the picture I took on that day. So it looks a bit different now. But they're really trying to make the place appealing in terms of If anyone is coming and want to have a spiritual experience, they really, really provide it. You have a setting where they tell about um, what the people have been doing for centuries since they lost their family members to slave trade. Maybe, brother, you want to maybe share that? What you remember
Yes.
the scene?
Yes. Gapingo. So, whew,
Yeah, that was it. Take your time, bro.
so you got to know that. So our people in the Bamileke people are very much animists, which means that they use things like salt, which is a commodity, is what you preserve food with, is what you season food with. But they use things like salt to appease the ancestors. And so you'll go to places where there'll be like salt and other things placed, to show respect. Well, before this place was an exhibit, the way that we see it now, the people in the region knew the significance of that place. They knew that it was a slave market, and so they would come and give offerings to people who were taken. Um, so that's just I want to say that to you because if there's ever a feeling that you have that your people don't love you, I need you to know that they do, and that there's a story of middlemen who worked with the enslavers to grab people. So that's also true. But the people, your people, they have been they have been mourning our loss. They have been mourning us being taken into slavery since slavery was happening in Cameroon. It's almost like they were so broken from the loss of life and the loss of people that they have been giving offerings in this place even before people started to recognize it nationally as a slave market, you know. Um, so just know that your people love you, and not, there are some who were in collusion with the enslavers for monetary gain, but not all. I would gather to say not even most.
Yeah.
Now,
Thank you,
I'm
bro.
going to step away so I can get my charger cord, and I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to add a very small detail. In the Bamileke culture, um, you need if you lose your father or any family member, you need the person's body to do the burial ceremony. And the challenge people had when they lost family members to slavery is that they had no way to mourn their deceased, the person who left. And in the Bamileke culture, when you cannot really get access to the person's body to mourn the person because the body is a proof that the person died. So what you do is you go to the last place the last known place where the person has been, and then you grab a part of the soil there. So this soil is supposed to represent the person, and you use the soil from that space to mourn the individual. And that's why this slave market, is still now it's becoming a museum because the slave market was hidden. It wasn't a place that everyone knew that it was a slave market. It was a hidden place. But soon people found out this is where the were taken, and that's why people eventually went there to mourn their lost one. It was the only way for them to think about the lost one, like saying, "Oh, this is the last place the person has been to." So you kind of go there, and then you remember what could have happened there, and then you mourn the person from there. And this is also the idea of the museum that's now being built. They want the visitors to think about the person that went through that. So when you visit the museum, they will show you different steps and different posts, and even let you to think about not only the slaves, but sometimes the enslavers. And there's even a rhetoric that the slave and enslavers are all slaves, because one is slave of his master and the other is slave of monetary gain. And the museum is really beautiful because towards the end, the museum is even showing how slavery is still happening in the modern world. And they even went into talking about slavery from things that we won't really think about, like uh, internet or media and things like that. So the whole topic around the area is slavery, and it's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, Pingo Boris. I
Thank
have a
you
question
for
for
adding that,
you
Boris.
and for any other. So with that soil that I have, is there a particular type of jar I need to put that soil in, or how is the best way? What's the best way for me to preserve that soil?
I think based on what I see in my family, there is no rule. So it's you just need to know that. I mean, the people who practice that just what is more important is the idea behind it. That you use the soul to connect in a spiritual, emotional way. Doesn't have to be very complicated. With the person. So if this can just remember, you can be a way for you to remember and to connect with this past, this story, it is enough. So you can just choose a jar that you consider nice and that can help you to remember that. And you're fine.
Gapingo, Ba'a.
Welcome. Tapingo.
So, questions for any of us. I really want this to be a dialogue. Um, any questions, comments?
I do have a question. When you travel, is it organized travel? Or are you traveling for, under the auspices of study? Is there something that's offered through?
It's a great question, Bridget. So a little bit of both. When we traveled to Cameroon, it was personal travel. So my partner Tanya and I, we we wanted to spend Christmas in Cameroon that year, and so we just planned accordingly for that, and we got the necessary shots and immunizations and all that, and make sure our passports were up to date. But it was not organized. Now I have been on organized trips before, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly like those. So we went to Israel with a group, and we almost missed our flight because people
Oh,
didn't know how
okay.
to. But when I went to Cape Town, that was on a research mission, so it was just me that traveled to Cape Town. And I'll be traveling to Liberia in December for a research mission as well. And that'll just be me, but I'll be meeting other members of the team in Brussels, and we'll fly into Liberia together
Okay.
from Brussels.
Okay. Just interested. I was interested myself, and I was thinking, well, do I travel? Because I travel anyway, but was there something like more organized that within the group that people were doing?
Yeah, the thing about the group, I don't know if anyone else can attest to this, but when you travel with the group, like say for example, in Israel, you have to have certain paperwork to get into the country,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone has to have that paperwork, or it'll hold things up.
Okay.
And so certain people didn't have their paperwork, and so
Right.
we were literally running down the runway. They were about to leave us when we got
Mm-hmm.
on the plane. And so just be sure if you are traveling with the group that you don't be the one that's holding everybody up.
Okay.
Other questions? I will say when you eat in Cameroon, you eat with your hands. So we would have fish. Like the fish would be served whole with the head and tail and everything. And so you would use your hand to take the fish. Which if you're for the uninitiated can be a bit of a culture shock. But the fish is still delicious. And typically people eat communally. And so if you have a fish say Boris and I are eating dinner together, we would have one fish. And so he would be taking his hand, eating part of it. I'd be taking my hand, eating part of it. But that's part of you would wash your hands first in the bowl, but then you would use your fingers to take the food. It is better with your hands, princess. Yep. You can still put your pinkies out too. Like if you're the type of person you can still put the pinky out. Other questions for me?
I have a question. When you mentioned about the salt and how the salt is very important to them,
Do you have the president? Do you just need to speak?
Yes, Lauren. Nora B, elders, if you can mute your phone because we getting some feedback.
I was about to ask the question.
Oh, we had someone already asking one, sir. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Give us 1 second and we'll be right with you, sir.
what are the other uses that they use for the salts?
You know, that might be a question for Boris or for Monkum. I know in many parts of the world, I mean, they have refrigerators in Cameroon, but in many parts of the world, salt is used to preserve food. But Boris, Monkum, do you have any other response to that question as to what Bamileke people or Cameroonians use salt for?
Okay, let me back up a little bit.
Okay. Is it salt or soil?
Salt
Salt.
that you can season with.
Okay, cool.
I do know that some you can do rituals with salt as far as keeping away evil spirits and stuff like that. So I was wondering if the Bamileke people did the same thing.
You're correct. So I'm gonna speak about my experience when I was visiting my grandmom. So my grandmom, she lived not in the Bamileke area, but in the coastal area. I mean in a city called Konsamba, which is very close to the Bamileke. So as a young boy, I used to go and visit her. And then in the morning, before I actually get up and then leave the house in the morning, she used to say, okay, wet. And then she's going to drop the salt on front of the door before I can get past, I can get out. And I asked her, what are you doing that, Grandma? She said, because obviously that stop any evil spirit waiting for you outside. And then even here, sometime when I visit some friend in the UK, if they feel that there's something which is not right, they're gonna use a salt in certain corner in the house. Again, that's to eliminate anything, any evil spirit, to cancel anything anyone put there to actually hurt you. So that's I think that's the meaning of using the salt. It's very, very common. Even I was speaking to a friend from Grenada. And then he told me that his grandma was doing that as well, so all the way from Grenada. So they use the sword as well to cancel anything for the door.
That's interesting. As considering how we were taken from the country, and like over here, I'm in the United States, like over here, and you like in the UK and stuff, how some of the practices are still being done, even though we didn't know anything. It's like it's embedded in us, so that's why I was interested in the salt, if they were doing that.
Yeah, it's very powerful. I mean, even I myself, sometimes if I feel that there's certain thing, like if I keep seeing, I mean, you're not gonna find a lot of mouse and rat in the house over here compared to when you're in Cameroon. But if I keep seeing in my house, which I did before, looking at everywhere, I don't see why it's there. So what I do, I just get the salt and then just throw it in any corner of the house. And then that thing's not going to be there anymore, because it's not any mouse you're going to see in your house, which is a real mouse. Sometimes it's going to be something was sent by someone to maybe get your money, to actually make you poor, or to cause any illness in your family. So if you start notice that there's thing there which shouldn't be there, it could be mouse, it could be certain flies, could be like, if you don't know where they're coming from, then use the sword. It's very, very strong. You don't need to say anything, you don't need to do any ritual. So you just throw the sword in a certain area where you're not comfortable in your house, and then it's gonna eliminate so many things.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Norma
the-
B. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, after they finish, I have another question.
Norma B, you all had a question.
Yeah, you said that you learned one of the languages that were used in Cameroon. How did you do that? Was it through staying there and with the local folk, or did you do it through books, or exactly how did you learn that language?
Great question. I'm still learning Ngomala, and I just been asking Boris, like, how do you say this? And he'll in Ngomala, and he'll tell me. And so like it's just piecing together language as we go. Like I've learned Olila is hello, Amgaka is uh uh how are you doing? The response to that is Apinya, I'm doing
Oh.
fine. Like I'm learning certain conversational things
Oh,
like
well,
that.
bro.
Thank you, bro. Gapingo fa'a. But it really just boils down to just asking people who speak the language, just how do you say this? How do you say that?
Okay.
Yes, sir. But I do know that there are some, I think there's a brother who we are affiliated with who is teaching people how to speak one of the languages.
Mhm.
That was
Lauren, you had another question for us
Yeah,
too,
that-
huh?
yeah, that was an interesting question because I know the Bamalekis they have different languages, and so it's just interesting that how did you know? This is not my question that I had, but since he brought that question up, I'm like, I'm going to ask this question. So it's two questions I have. How did you know which language you wanted to learn, since there's so many different languages?
Great question, Lauren. So in doing my research about the Bamaleke people, in my study, I just learned that Ngomala was one of the languages. And so I just picked that one randomly. It could have been any of the other ones.
Mm,
But I asked Boris, hey, do you speak Ngomala? And the thing that's sad about it is many of the younger generations are not learning Ngomala.
okay.
They speak French or they speak English, but they don't speak their indigenous languages. And so
So it's
with us learning Ngomala and other indigenous languages that our people speak, we're keeping that language alive.
so it's Ingomalan, that's what you said?
Ngomala, Gomala.
Ingomala.
I'll put it in the
Ingomala.
chat. Yep,
Okay, so is that the main language?
it's one of them.
I know they got
There are
so many.
several.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to add something to what
there's a
Dr.
lot.
Elong is saying, yeah, the Bamileke is a massive group, and then there's so many different languages within the Bamileke. Like Brother Boris is a Bamileke, I'm a Bamileke, and Brother Tanko on the meeting is the Bamileke as well. But we probably got three different dialects. So if they can speak, and I mean, I probably could get something, but I'm not gonna understand the whole thing. And then I think that was made again by the oppressor to divide, to separate us. But we kind of understand each other, the same thing. Like me, I speak the language called the Fefe. Brother Boris speak the Gomala, I speak the Fefe. But the certain words are similar.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And my main question that I had was, I heard that like some of the elders, they can tell if you go to the villages, they can look at you and tell that you're Bamaleke. Is that true?
Yes, definitely. I mean, sometimes you don't need to really be an elder. I can look at someone because when I can look at someone and then I can say that this person is Pamela, by how the person look like that. And then if I get a chance to see how the person act as well, I can say, okay, you definitely Bamileke. There's certain trait you can see on the Bamileke person. There's certain thing you can know that this person is Bamileke. Just like Dr. Elong said, when he went to South Africa, he saw a guy because he's been in Cameroon, and then he said, oh, are you a Bamileke? And the person asked him, are you a Bamileke as well? Because obviously he went to the Bamileke land, and then he was able to make a difference between a Bamileke person to when he was in Yaoundé, when he was in the other part of Cameroon. When you get to be amongst Cameroonian, you can start see all that. Even sometimes how we speak. Just like in the state, you got different accent from the north, from the west, from the east. So when a Bamileke person speak French or English, you know that this person is a Bamileke by the accent as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a photo in the chat in just a moment of the brother I met in Cape Town, and there are striking similarities to our facial structure, and I'll show you in just a moment.
Okay. That's really nice that they have a memorial per se, a museum, whatever, to honor the ones that were taken from the land, and that they didn't forget. So is this just the elders that didn't forget, or is it like the younger ones? Are they like,
It's all
they
in
do they accompany like their parents or their grandparents, or an elder
um
from the
it's a bit complex. How to explain it? In Cameroon, people are organized in family groups, what we call compounds. So
Okay.
it's like you have big families, and if you
Mhm.
lost someone in your family, then or if a family lost someone, then the family will be mourning that person, um, even after a couple of generations, after a lot of generations. So it's something
Okay.
that is done within families usually. And in the family, there are rituals. Some people just do the ritual because it's part of the culture. Some people might
Mhm.
even be Christian or something. They just do the ritual, but they just
Mhm.
people from the family compound who are in charge of that. They would do that together with the family, and they would do that sometimes as a they will include a lot of people from the family who lost their life through that. They will say, okay, today we're gonna honor the ancestor, I don't know, Kwam or something who died at some point, and then it's just something that they do over the years again and again. So you might have people who are elders who do that, but you also might have people who might be young and do that because they got the entitlement, they got entitled to do that as well because they inherit the the responsibility to be in charge of it. Um, yeah, that's a bit how it's done now.
Okay, so it's just their compound. What about the other compounds? Do they
So
go?
you have many compounds. So
Yeah.
people in every compound, people take it very seriously the responsibility to honor the ancestors.
Oh,
So, for
okay.
example, where I'm from, in my compound, we
Mhm.
know we know my grandpa, for example, we know him, and then we know his father, and so on. And then we have a lot of stories
Mhm.
about people who were lost. And then you tell through the stories, those people are also alive in a sense. And through those rituals, you're also kind of celebrating them. And you
Okay.
also have some compounds that what do you say that? Maybe the chief who is in charge of all the compounds might have something that he do for everyone, but most of the time it's done within every compound because they have a story that's more relatable. They will tell about a story and so on. That's how we also know a lot about um, the foundation of the kingdoms. We know a lot about the local stories because you always have in all compounds, all families, stories of people who were kidnapped and so on. I have people in my family. I know that there was a lady that was a slave, and then she managed to, I don't know, someone bought the lady, or someone
Mhm.
managed to. Anyway, she managed to just be part of the family. She was taken somewhere, we don't know where, but we know her name, and we still have stories in the family about her. So we still, in her case, it was a happy ending because she was um, safe in a sense, and then she was part of the family, and she became my group, someone in my line, my family line. And then we tell her story till now. And they have stories that are sad, and they're also told. And then the stories can be accompanied with with the ritual to say, okay, today we are celebrating those people who left, and then they do that for their family members. And then you also have the kings.
Mhm.
For example, the Bapa king told me they wanted to do that because they're in charge of the whole community. They will also do that for the whole community, but it might not be as personal.
Mhm.
And we were talking to the chief of Bapa, and he said he was talking to other Bamileke chiefs, and they were planning even of doing something big uh, um, with all the other chiefs together, so that they can honor all the lost one in the whole community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have different strata, different stages, but the more personal one are usually the family one. So the one you will see for example, this now people know that it's a slave market, but if the
Mhm.
people were not doing that, people wouldn't know, because when the slavery ended, when it was stopped, you just had fields and it was like another place. And because the
Yeah.
place was hidden and people knew that, they would go there, tell stories and do some rituals and then come back. And then they keep doing that till now. And it's a way, because in the local tradition, people have a strong sense of, we need to honor the one who were there before, we need to think about them. Um,
Mhm.
and this goes on, and this is preserving the place, and this is how we are even having this museum. But yeah, the foundation of it is the way Bamilekes relate to the lost one. It's very something all the families feel an attachment to that, and a sense of, oh, we need to think about this person, we need to think about that person, because they left in a sad way, or this happened, and so on. And it's helped to build our identity as well, because you have a whole story to tell about yourself each time, because I'm not here by accident. There were people who went through that, and people who were kidnapped, people who did that and that.
Yeah. So you're honoring your ancestors. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you tell stories. I think everyone does it till now. I see that a lot of African Americans also have a lot of stories about, one talking to Jason, a lot of stories about this lady who came here, and then my grandma, great grandma, we all have it. But
Mhm.
these rituals add something physical, tangible, that can be passed on to the younger generation. And that's why, even though the young ones are now in the cities and losing a bit of the culture, people who
Mhm.
are still in the culture, they would do that whatever age they are, because it's just something the family does together, or something that the person who is in doing that do, and just part of the culture.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you notice the picture that I put in the chat is me and Amadou is his name. But
Mhm.
we look like cousins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other questions?
Any more questions?
The question I had was in regards to, we mentioned before about food, and Dr. Elong talked about fish. Are there any other cultural, like, foods and food ways and food traditions that we know made it from Cameroon over to the United States?
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
Great question.
Mm.
Yeah.
I do know of a comparison. I'm gonna put this photo in the chat as well. So as I pull up this picture, does anyone eat hot water cornbread on the call?
On the
I
card?
had it because I have relatives in Tennessee, and they eat hot water cornbread.
Yeah, so we were enslaved in North Carolina, but then we moved to Arkansas, Marianna,
Mhm.
Arkansas. And so in my family, we too eat hot water cornbread, and I still make it. When I have black eyed peas and stuff like that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna put a picture in the chat of what's called bean cake that we had on the side of the road in Cameroon.
Mhm.
Give me 1 second to pull this up.
That's interesting because I never had hot water cornbread until I visited my relatives that were in Tennessee, Memphis to be exact. So
Yeah, I never had it either, but I've heard that people down south, like North Carolina, South Carolina, they eat hot water cornbread. So
This
I
gonna
never
blow you
tasted
out.
it.
This gonna blow your mind when you see this picture, though. All right, so give me a second. Um, that's one of the things that we would always eat. I grew up eating hot water cornbread. Um, it's something that's like a staple for me. Like if I'm eating, like I say, like black eyed peas, or if I
Mm,
just want something, one with my greens or whatever.
mhm.
All right, let me show you this picture here. If this will act right, let's see.
I don't know if you guys consume okra in the US.
Yeah, I
We
was gonna
do.
say okra, yeah.
So
Yeah.
okra was one of the food items that was taken on the ships with our ancestors. Okra, watermelon,
Rice.
Black eyed peas too, right? Yeah, and rice, yeah.
yep, rice,
And black eyed peas.
and black eyed
Black eyed
peas.
peas. Yeah, that's very big in Cameroon, for example.
Yeah.
Yep. And so many African Americans, we eat black eyed peas on New Year's Day because it's supposed to commemorate good luck. And I bet that that's a cultural tradition
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
that's
yeah,
carried, that stayed with us.
yeah.
How about yams?
Yeah,
Yams, different
different.
though.
It's
Different.
different.
Yeah.
I think when we got over here, we had to make do with what kind of food they had over here. Um, we may have cooked it similarly, but like for instance, the yams that y'all have over there is like white, right?
Yeah.
Red
Mhm.
white yams, and we have like they're yellow. Well, we call them sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
But we also have sweet potatoes, interestingly enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just interesting.
Two
Oh,
different things.
okay. I didn't know that.
My computer is not acting right. Give me a second, y'all.
Okay. But I knew black eyed peas were we consider them like for good luck because they represent like greens represent money
Mhm.
and the
Okay.
black eyed peas are supposed to represent change, like coins. That's what I thought. But
Oh,
I knew they were good luck.
I like it.
But I didn't know it was like I didn't know if those specific foods like that's interesting to know that especially the black eyed peas
Well, you
uh
said black
might
eyed
be.
peas. They would
Mhm.
represent like coins,
That's what it
like
was. Yeah, it was supposed to represent like um like in our household, what we do is we eat. It was supposed to be like pork for good luck,
Mhm.
greens equal like green money, like your bills,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and black eyed peas equal like change or coins. So you want to
That-
eat that traditional meal,
mhm.
at the on New Year's Day to
Mhm.
bring
Yeah,
those things throughout the year.
yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
when you say coins, I was thinking about cowrie shells too.
Oh, okay.
So for those of
Yeah.
us who eat hot water cornbread, you can't tell me that don't look like hot water cornbread.
Mhm.
But it's made with beans.
Okay.
And we had that on the side of the road in Cameroon. Remember that, Boris?
Oh, that's that's
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. This is so tasty.
It was good too. My
It's
goodness.
so tasty. Oh,
We have flashback.
oh, bro.
Yeah, but when I saw it the first time I saw it, and they're making it in a skillet just on the side of the road, I said that looked just like hot water cornbread.
And it can be spicy as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Uh,
What was the name of that again? It's something. It's like a bean cake. What would
they
they call
call
it?
it in French. They call it beignet coquille.
Beignet cookie. Okay.
Yeah, in
Cookie
French. I
or
don't know how
cookie
what's the
cake.
name in English. I mean they had the same thing in Nigeria, but they do exactly the same thing in Nigeria. Let me see
That
what's the
looks
name
good.
in.
That looks really good.
Oh,
Oh
it's
my
very
God.
it's very tasty.
Mm.
Oh my God. And you know what? What made it extra good though is you eating it in Cameroon, in the countryside.
Mm.
Somebody just whipped this up on the side of the road, and you like in this little. It was so delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Wow.
call it coffee beans donut. Yeah,
Okay.
coffee beans donut.
But you know what was cool too? So in African American culture, we have this thing called Kwanzaa that was started back in 91 or no, in the 80s. But Kwanzaa is meant to celebrate African culture.
Mm.
And on the last day, you know, you have a feast. And so it was a couple of years ago, I wanted to make indole. And
Yeah.
indole is like the national dish of Cameroon. And so before I had learned how to make indole, whenever I
Mhm.
made kale or greens, I would always squeeze my greens. Like I would wash them in the sink and I
Mhm.
would squeeze them, you know, to bring the water out. How about when I'm learning how to make indole, as part of the instructions, you're supposed to squeeze the greens.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I had
Isn't
such a feeling of jubilation
yeah.
that I had been doing this all my
Mhm.
life, you know. Or I would drink Guinness. You know, I used to drink Guinness quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um, and when I got my name Elong, I was took part in the naming ceremony in Silver Spring, Maryland, and all the brothers and sisters were drinking Guinness. And I said, "Why do y'all drink Guinness?" And they said that it tastes like the beer we have back at home.
Isn't that something? Wow. Because I used to drink Guinness also, and I liked it.
There's a reason for that.
That's something. Wow.
I'm impartial to port. Like as a wine drinker, I like to
Uh,
drink port, which comes from Portugal. Now you know the Portuguese, they named our country Cameroon because
mm,
it was like where they get. It's like the shrimp market. It was like in Portuguese is camarão or something like that, large prawns.
okay.
But I think they used port as one of the trading items when they were trading in human people. But I've always been impartial to port, and that's probably why.
Wow. Mm-mm-mm.
Isn't that something?
That is something. Wow. You got some of the culture in you that you didn't even know you had.
All of us do though. You do too.
Yeah. I mean, it just fascinates me, you know?
I have a question for you, bro. How do you think we can work together to build stronger connections?
Well, I think what we need to do, Boris, is do what you and I did. Because you and I have been connected. We have a personal relationship. You know, Malcolm and I have a personal relationship. And so I think the more of us that build those personal relationships among our people, I think that's how we do it. Because these type of forums, these are great, and I want us to keep doing this. But it's something about having a personal connection with someone from your home country that you can call and say, hey, how do you say this in Guatemala? Or how's your family doing? Or, you know, let's get together. Like we actually spend time together. You know, we went through some things together. We went to Ape Action Africa together, and it took us almost 2 hours to do that. I want everyone on this call to have that a similar experience to where you can develop a connection with someone from your home country, from your village, not even let's say from your village, but from Cameroon, and just build that bond so that when we come together like this, you too can have a Boris. You know, you can have a person that you can say with, you know, you can say that's my brother, that's my sister. That's what needs to happen, I think.
Thank you so much.
Exactly. It does make sense, yeah. Because like before you actually travel home, you know, you feel like you was already there because the connection we had on this forum and then the knowledge you gain from here. So you knew exactly certain thing how to behave when you get home, when you meet the king, when you do everything. So yeah, it's quite important to have a personal connection, like you said, and then it's more easy to when you start to go home.
Oui.
Okay, you can, yes, I
Yes.
just introduce you here. Je viens juste de t'introduire. En fait, comme on a discuté
Ouais.
l'autre jour, as we spoke the other
Je,
day, you was
yeah.
looking at how you can actually incorporate I work with the CRTV, Cameroon National Radio Television.
Exact.
So you can
Oui,
speak.
effectivement.
Exactly.
Oui, effectivement. Bonsoir déjà. I'm sorry because my English is very, very poor. Donc, I can do my best, but I prefer to speak in French because I'm right to speak in French. You know, Cameroon is a bilingual country. We are speaking French or English. But me, I speak French. But sorry, all of us. Ok,
It's
merci
okay,
beaucoup.
Maxime. I'm gonna first say, je vais dire merci d'être là. I'm gonna say
Oui.
thank you for actually. I know it's too late in Cameroon right now. Thank you very much. And that was the last minute when I contacted you and asked you to come to the show. And then
Oui.
we can speak about how we can come together to actually broadcast what we're doing on the national TV. It's amazing to actually have somebody from there coming here and, to see how we can help. C'est vraiment très gentil que tu sois là. Et franchement,
Oui.
c'était en dernière minute que je t'ai contacté. Et malgré tout cela, avec l'heure tardive au Cameroun, tu as pris le temps de venir et de pouvoir nous aider, quoi. Donc, je veux que tu nous expliques un peu. Tu as eu à regarder les vidéos que je t'ai envoyées et tu vois à
Oui,
peu près
oui.
le concept de ce qu'on fait. Donc, ici dans le groupe, comme tu vois, c'est des frères afro-descendants qui ont trouvé des racines au Cameroun. Et certains sont déjà venus au Cameroun et d'autres prévoient venir au Cameroun pour visiter, quoi. Et ce qu'on veut faire, en fait, c'est de pouvoir euh, faire un truc pour que le Cameroun soit au courant de ce qu'on fait. Et ça passe
Hmm.
par la télévision. Voilà.
Oui, oui, effectivement. Déjà, je m'excuse parce que je pensais être là à temps, mais vous savez, en télévision, chez nous ici, bon, j'ai la chance ou la malchance d'être à la télévision nationale et à tout moment, même quand vous pensez être de repos, on peut toujours vous appeler pour un boulot ou quoi que ce soit. Donc,
Ouais.
j'ai été appelé la dernière heure pour un reportage et je viens juste de rentrer à la maison. J'ai dû rouler comme un fou. Heureusement que c'est dimanche, donc dimanche, quand il n'y a pas
Mhm.
trop de circulation. Donc, j'ai pu rouler jusqu'à la maison tranquillement et je suis là et content d'être parmi vous. Bon, comme tu as si bien dit, j'ai regardé les vidéos, vraiment vidéos très intéressantes. Et comme je dis souvent, moi, je suis un jeune Camerounais qui est très attaché à tout ce qui est bien, surtout quand ça concerne le Cameroun.
Mhm.
Déjà, comme tout bon Camerounais, vous savez, tous les Camerounais sont fiers de leur pays,
Attends, je vais
malgré...
traduire ça à ce niveau. So yes,
Ouais, ouais. Mm.
Maxim said that first he's very sorry to be a little bit late because obviously as Cameroon radio television journalist, so he's supposed to be here earlier, but he got called to do some work in the television, so that's why it's a bit late. And then I've sent him some video of what we're doing, so he had a look at it. So he's happy of the work we're doing, and then he's willing to help us to push it, to broadcast that, to be able to find a space in the Cameroon radio television where we can send our broadcast over there, and then he's going to be able to show that to other Cameroonians so they can be aware and know that, we're looking to be serious about bringing brother and sister back home. Wow. Vladi.
Yeah. Yes, tout à fait, exactement. Merci beaucoup, frère.
No.
Merci. That's wonderful.
Mm.
Vas-y, je t'écoute, Maxime.
Ok, d'accord. Voilà, merci beaucoup. Donc, comme j'étais disant, les vidéos vraiment très, très intéressantes. Tout ce que je peux dire déjà de prime abord aux frères afro-descendants, c'est que en ce qui concerne le Cameroun, n'ayez pas peur.
Mhm.
N'ayez surtout pas peur. On peut tout vous raconter, vous pouvez lire les choses sur Internet, sur les réseaux sociaux, mais je peux vous assurer, n'ayez surtout jamais peur de venir au Cameroun.
Okay, so
Le Cameroun,
Maxim is saying is that as you are all from Cameroon, and don't be afraid of Cameroon. So doesn't matter what you're gonna read on the news about Cameroon, don't be afraid to come back home. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Vas-y, Maxime.
Ah oui, oui, effectivement.
Yeah.
Oui, donc le meilleur moyen, quand vous venez au Cameroun, et comme mon frère l'a dit, à mon niveau, ce que je peux faire, organiser sur cette plateforme, je suis très écouté. Et je pense que ça aura un impact très positif. Et tout ce qu'on aura peut-être envie de faire, d'organiser, le fait que la télévision nationale consacre déjà des plateaux pour ça, je vous assure, ça sera un événement très captivant et vous n'allez surtout pas regretter l'avoir fait. Donc moi, comme je t'ai dit, grand frère, je suis prêt à tout, mais déjà j'en ai parlé à un de mes responsables et qui m'a dit, mais il va tout de suite poser la question, mais ils sont où? J'ai dit non, je vais juste te dire que bon, le moment, il m'a dit, il n'y a pas de souci. Le moment venu, vous savez, la télévision générale, nationale, une plateforme pour tous les Camerounais, quel que soit l'endroit où ils se trouvent.
Okay.
Et tout Camerounais, si vous vous sentez Camerounais, vous vous sentez venu au Cameroun, la télévision nationale ne vous demande rien. Elle sera toujours fière à ouvrir les portes, surtout quand c'est bien.
Donc,
Surtout,
avant qu'on ne puisse mettre sur place ce qu'on est en train de faire, s'il y a quelqu'un qui vient au Cameroun n'importe quand, je peux envoyer la personne chez toi et tu peux faire passer la
il n'y a
personne.
pas de souci. Il n'y a
OK.
pas de souci.
So,
Ça serait la chose même la plus facile à faire.
okay, cool. Attends avec ça. So,
Ça serait
yes,
la chose la plus facile.
Maxim says that you are all Cameroonian, and then again, the Cameroon National Television belongs to all Cameroonians. So, he spoke to other people at the channel. They're actually very happy about the project, about being able to create a platform where we can actually advertise our work and everything. And then he says that if anyone is traveling to Cameroon anytime, even tomorrow, we can contact him. He's going to be able to set like an interview at the Cameroon National Television where the person can, speak about the experience. And then again, it's going to be completely something which is free because the television belongs to all of us.
This is exciting.
It is.
Voilà.
I think
Et surtout,
because
surtout préciser,
oh,
surtout préciser que ça serait la chose la plus facile de toute façon. C'est la chose la plus facile.
so that would be so easy to do that.
Donc, vraiment, mon grand frère, comme je t'ai dit, c'est un honneur, c'est un plaisir. Merci vraiment pour cet honneur-là. Rencontrer des frères, ça sera toujours un plaisir de servir. Donc,
Okay,
comme je l'ai
so
toujours dit, c'est comme nous Camerounais, vous savez, on peut s'insulter, on peut tout se faire dans notre pays, mais quand il s'agit de notre pays, on est toujours mobilisé, quoi qu'il arrive.
okay.
Quand ça sert notre pays. Ouais.
So he's saying that, yeah, he's very happy to be involved on this project. And then it's a privilege for him to be at the platform. It's a privilege for him to meet all of you, brother and sister coming back home. And then again, we all know that, sometimes we may have that different issue in the country, but when it's come to defend the country, we are, all one. And then again, he's very motivated about everything which is into culture, and then he's willing to help. Yeah.
Ouais,
Hey,
ouais.
hey, Malcolm,
Yes, sir.
can you let first of all, please thank Brother Maxim for us. A few of us have had to leave, I think, because the time has gotten late.
Sure.
I know I will have to leave soon to make dinner, but I don't want him to be disrespected by folks jumping off the call. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, donc voilà, donc Dr. Elong, il était au Cameroun tout récemment Et il a eu une très bonne expérience au Cameroun. Donc, il me dit qu'effectivement, puisqu'on a passé beaucoup de temps, beaucoup de gens veulent partir aussi. Donc, je vais pas trop te poser des questions. Je vais simplement demander à tout le monde s'ils ont des questions à te poser. Ils vont vite poser la question, puis on va répondre.
Il
S'il
n'y
y
a
a
pas de
beaucoup de
souci,
questions,
tu es
je te
là.
prends les questions, je
Et
reviens
même
vers
si-
toi. Voilà.
Non, en tout cas, de toute façon, je suis là pour ça. Même si même c'est jusqu'au matin, j'ai tout le temps pour répondre.
Voilà. So yeah, I explained. So he says that doesn't matter, anyone got a question. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add him in Facebook. If you got any question, just send me the question. I'm gonna forward the question to him. And if anybody got a quick question now, you can ask him before we can close it because we've been here for quite long now. Wow. Anyone got any quick question? Okay.
I have a question for him.
Yeah, go ahead.
What drew his interest to work with us?
I didn't get what was that?
What made him interested in working with us
Good
as a
question.
collective?
Okay. Maxime?
Oui.
Voilà, docteur Elong, une question pour toi. Qu'est-ce qui vous a poussé de travailler avec nous, de faire partie de ce projet-ci? Qu'est-ce qui vous a motivé?
Bah, c'est très simple à répondre. Qu'est-ce qui m'a motivé? C'est le Cameroun. Parce que
Mhm,
on parle des descendants africains, afro-américains, et c'est des choses qu'on a eu à entendre ailleurs. On sait que désormais, auparavant, il y a eu des afro-descendants qui sont allés au Ghana, je pense
mhm,
même en Tanzanie et tout.
mhm.
Et on a quand même eu des très positifs qui sont, et voilà, de savoir qu'on a, non, et qui retrouvent leur pays. Moi, je dis c'est toujours un honneur, en fait.
Ouais.
Peut-être ça a l'air de rien, ça a l'air de très simple, mais je dis c'est un honneur
Mhm.
qui est indescriptible. Maintenant, savoir qu'il y a des afro-descendants, des afro-américains qui
Mhm.
sont camerounais
Ouais.
et qui ont la conviction, l'envie de venir dans leur pays, qui ne demandent
Mhm.
qu'à être acceptés. Je
Mhm.
dis, pour moi, c'est extraordinaire. Je me dis, mais attends, c'est extraordinaire en fait. Et comme je dis, ça a l'air peut-être de rien, mais
Mhm.
je dis, pour moi, quand tu as quelqu'un peut-être de peu éclairé,
Okay.
qui sait voir les choses de l'action et rester à l'écart. Voilà.
Wow. So he says that the first thing will actually bring him and motivate him to want to do this is first about the country, it's about Cameroon. And secondly, because it may not seem like a big thing, but to him it's a massive thing when a brother and sister actually acknowledging that they're from Cameroon. They want to come back in Cameroon. So he's willing to do his best to accommodate to make sure that everything goes smoothly. And then it's just as crowd, it's just amazing to actually be part of that project and then to know that brother and sister want to come back home.
So the feeling is mutual because we feel the same way about Cameroon.
Yeah. Donc, disons, c'est pareil pour tout le monde, pour Dr. Elong. Il a
Oui,
la
oui.
même conviction, il ressent la même chose pour le Cameroun. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'il veut
Voilà.
revenir au Cameroun aussi.
Exactement. Exactement. C'est le Cameroun, il n'y a rien d'autre.
Okay.
Hello, I have a question. First of all, it's good to see some of you all who I haven't seen in quite a while. It's been a while since I've been on the call. So it's good to see you, brother Moncum, and some of the others who are on. For Maxim, is there a platform or somewhere where we can follow like some of his stories, about Cameroon or things that he might be writing or maybe reporting? Is there a way that we could have access to that information to follow as well? And the second part of it, it'd be in French or would it be in English or a combination of the two?
Good question. Nice to see you again, Brother Donald. Nice to see you again. So that's a good question. Alors, Maxime? Alors, notre frère Donald veut savoir, bon, est-ce qu'il y a des documentaires que tu as déjà faits, il peut suivre, il peut écouter. Est-ce que c'est des documentaires qui sont en français ou bien qui sont sur le Cameroun? Peut-être l'histoire du Cameroun, quelque chose qui est sur le Cameroun, peut-être la culture.
Non. Bon, en fait, il faut dire, moi, je suis journaliste d'expression franc et j'écris parce que je suis journaliste de sport, je suis journaliste de culture. Et j'ai fait à l'époque, j'étais à Bion 4. Bon, j'ai fait la presse privée. Le groupe L'Anecdote, c'est un tout. Donc, il y a la presse écrite, il y a la radio, il y a la télévision. Et donc, j'ai fait tout ça. J'ai fait la presse écrite culturelle. Donc, j'ai gardé. Mais en télévision, je fais des émissions beaucoup plus de société, mais qui sont en français. Donc, mais je peux t'envoyer quelques roches et tout. Bon, tu te chargeras peut-être de les traduire. Donc, beaucoup plus en français.
Donc, tu es plus spécialisé en sport et la culture aussi, c'est ça?
Sport et culture. Oui, sport.
OK.
Voilà.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. He says that he's more specialized in sports and culture. So he did a lot of documentary in sports and then in culture as well. Priorly, he was working for a different channel, which is called Vision 4. That's where I knew him for a long time ago. And then he moved to a national radio station now. He actually did a lot of documentary, and then he's going to send it to me, and I can share it. It's mainly in French, but I can maybe help to translate that in English. So when I get them, I'm gonna share it, and then I'm gonna explain the meaning of the documentary.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Donald. Thank you.
Right, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna have to jump off, but it's been really, really good to see you all.
I feel you can close it. You can close. It's your meeting.
I can close it. Okay. Well, let's do this. I want to just let you all know that we love you. We are one family, one people, and we do these chats because we want to make sure you know that you have a people. I mean, we're not just relegated to America. We have people all over the globe. But until next time, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time, right?
Thank you. Donc voilà, Maxime, on a fini. Et toutes les questions, je vais t'appeler demain, puis on va continuer, ok?
Il n'y a pas de souci, frère.
Yeah, I'm just confirming to Maxime that I'm gonna call him tomorrow so we can catch up on everything, and then I'm gonna give you the feedback, guys. So this meeting is recorded, and then I'm gonna have it on the YouTube channel by Wednesday. Yeah, it's all recorded. I can double check it.
Awesome.
And Princess Wendo is recorded this time. 100%.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll share it in the groups.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day, everyone. Thank you for
you.
coming. Thank you. Yes, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jason Vassar Elong. I'm a professor at the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
And I'm Tanya Ampey Elong, his wife, and we're from St. Louis, U.S.
So I used science, DNA, to trace my maternal DNA to the Bamileke people in Cameroon. I used African Ancestry, which is a Black-owned DNA tracing agency based in the U.S. So after I learned about my ancestry, I had all these questions about reconnecting with my culture, which prompted me to want to come to Cameroon.
They want us to come home. They want to see us being interested and to learn about our native culture.
And to have wonderful people like the people here at this facility, befriend families here in Cameroon that can teach you and show you the ways in which your ancestors lived. Take you to the countryside, you know, away from the touristy things, so you can really appreciate the farming. You can appreciate people living off the land, right? These things are important for us to remember because it's part of who we are. And in this way, I think I can reclaim some of what was taken from me that I can then pass on to my family.
I'm Kunchu Feze, at the initiative of the Afro-Descendant House. The Afro-Descendant House is a project of a house to receive our brothers and sisters from the US, from the Caribbean, from Martinique and Guadeloupe, from Cuba and elsewhere in the world, back on the continent. A place where they can stay for free and have the feeling to be at home and connect with the continent. So through Vincent Moncam, through the platform that is existing, we can exchange before they travel to make sure we can plan everything and make sure the connection travel will be great. So we have this before, and as I meet them here the first day coming with Boris, it was like we already know each other. We have a nice time talking, they have food and so on, and I really enjoy it.
Like, it's important for them, for African Americans, to come back home and to reconnect with the culture here, the land here, and the people here. And that was really heartwarming for me to know that I was so accepted, and they really appreciated the fact that we traveled to come home. And that was important. That was my biggest takeaway, is just they want us to come home. They want to see us being interested and to learn about our native culture.